I came to Auroville to learn about community. What community really means is the most compelling question that I have right now. I feel we're all longing for a different lifestyle that can be contemporary, sustainable, and fulfilling, with a real sense of community around us. So what do we need to learn? What does really make community?
Love between people, love among all different kinds of people, really open hearts, that people are available to each other, that we don't have to be afraid to ask each other to do something, that really energy's flowing. I think that's what makes community. There's a lot of sharing, there's a lot of interest in each other.
Because Auroville really is about, to me, it is about figuring out how to embody something else, how to embody something more conscious, something more connected, something more harmonious.
Auroville looks and feels like a work in progress on all levels. It seems like an open laboratory for the practical aspects of communal living and for consciousness. Auroville's founding values are to realize human unity and to be progressive in any possible way, to be a place of unending education and experimentation.
I think there the intentionality, of this community does definitely make a difference. This community was created with a certain energy, a certain consciousness, a certain clear intention of what it was meant to be.
Auroville is meant to be a place for experiment. That's the whole purpose the mother speaks about. It is a place for experiments.
The guiding principle in Auroville is human unity. It's an understanding that we overlook all the distinctions that exist between different races on the planet in order to live harmoniously together. And that you come to realize is a skill.
I like that in Auroville, life is not so money-oriented. So many people here are just less attached to money, and they feel like they have to earn money less, and they're just more into really getting something out of what they do instead of just working for money.
Auroville is, I would say, at the core, it's meant to be a collective yoga. All the different types of or ways or ideas about how to live in community can be included in that collective yoga. So for me, that's what Auroville, a big part of what Auroville is meant to be, is very inclusive to all these different types of ways of living in communities.
Auroville was founded 50 years ago as a spiritual community, following the guidelines of Sri Aurobindo and his spiritual partner, a French woman called the Mother, with the intention to develop into an international township of 50,000 people, willing to experiment a new kind of collective consciousness.
And also when Auroville was started, many communities had a community kitchen, so every day there would be people coming together and cooking together and just interacting. And yeah, I think that whole community sense was there more when Auroville was created.
I mean, Auroville, when I first came, was roughly 100, 150 people. And the collective ethic in those days was self-sufficiency. Although the understanding was that one of the reasons we were here was to rehabilitate the land, the ethic that we were living by was, as much as possible, to be autonomous, to grow our own foods, to build our own houses, to educate our own children. And that was the belief and the unifying principle. And so it attracted, in those days, a particular type of person, because it was the land was barren, the conditions were bleak, the resources were small, and you needed to enjoy hard physical work to enjoy it,
The outer circumstances can often be frustrating. We have high ideals, you could say we have utopian ideals, and it's often frustrating to not be there yet.
I grew up in Aura Model, which is, I find, the least community in Auroville, because it's not at all united. There's fences everywhere, and it's also the biggest one, so it's probably the hardest to have community life in. But yeah, there's fences everywhere. There's no community kitchen. There's no community events.
We don't have a clear view on money. We need financial resources or resources, let's say in general, to be able to live effectively as a community. But we have decided that money is not necessary and bad in principle. But then there is always this kind of tension going on with people having no money, people having external income sources.
And we have a hard time accepting the ability or the opportunity to just really do experiments, especially with bigger things. Like if I talk about housing, for example, it takes so much to just have a piece of land or the opportunity, the resources to do experiments. There's so much resistance there. But also from entry policies to all these different areas, economy, people, cling to the old ways, even if they were at once new ways.
The essential skill really is tolerance. That you've got to realize that and this is not an easy thing. Like you can see that if you really want to be intolerant, you'll get slowly pushed to the edge of the community, sort of thing, where you can be intolerant. You can live on your own out on the edge of the thing, or live in your own, fence yourself into your own bubble, and be as intolerant as you want. But if you want to live effectively within a community, then you really got to be tolerant.
I've lived in other places, like Maui, for example, where there is a certain kind of community, a looser community that is about living life differently, that is about following more of a sense of, what you feel drawn to do, being more connected. But I often found that disappointing coming from Auroville because it wasn't grounded into practical day-to-day actions. And often people would talk about community, but they wouldn't actually live it. And there's something in Auroville around, there's a certain consistency that comes with practically attending to this community, building up this community day by day. That brings it, this consistency brings it, to me, at a whole different level.
So what gives me a feeling and a sense for community is really something that is within me more than anything. If I feel an inner sense of connectedness to this divine source, this unity with, or oneness with something that's much greater than this individual that we call Noel, if I feel that unity with all of life, with all humanity, then I carry that within me everywhere I go, and I can feel that community sense no matter what is happening.
I believe that these little flowers that are mushrooming all over the world, these intentional communities, will be a great source of inspiration, of innovation, of people coming together, building social cohesion while developing real, practical, scientific, technological solutions for the rest of humanity.
Unity in community, it's what we need.